My name is Doug Walker. I'm the Communications Manager with Disabled Veterans National Foundation. We're located in Washington, D.C. If you hear an echo, I apologize. I won't be talking long. I'm going to turn it over to Ted Daywalt here in just a second. I want to thank Ted for coming on and helping us out with this. Ted Daywalt is an expert in the field of veteran employment issues. Since '99, Ted has been president of VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and they sponsor their site at jobs.com, or the premier military employment site on the internet. From 1971 to 1978, he served on active duty in the Navy as a line officer, intelligence officer, then transferred to the Naval Reserve Intelligence Program, from which he retired as a captain, 28 years of service. Ted has held executive positions in the steel, electric utility, importing, chemical, and recruiting industries. He's an in-demand speaker, and he's regularly cited and interviewed in the press, including USA Today, Military Times, CBS, NPR, CNN, Fox News. And he also testifies regularly before Congress on veterans and economic issues. He earned his BS from Florida State University, Master's in International Relations from the University of Southern California, and he has an MBA from the Gazetta Business School at Emory University. And he has the best understanding of veteran employment in the U.S. We are very happy to have him with us today. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn this over to Ted Daywalt. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Doug. It's very kind of you. I'd like to welcome everybody that's here so far, and I'm sure we'll be having a few more coming on board. Hopefully I'll come across okay to you. If you have trouble hearing me, say something on the chat so we know whether or not I'm coming across. I'm broadcasting to you from Roswell, Georgia, which is on the north side of Atlanta. And the good Lord saw fit to give me lots of allergies, and our pollen count here in Atlanta today is over 9,000. I've spent most of the morning trying to get to the point where I could breathe again so you could hear me. But it's going to be a challenge here. Today we're going to talk about jobs and employers, for veterans, specifically who's out there hiring and where are they located. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that for the last 40 some odd years, the unemployment rate for veterans has always been lower than the national unemployment rate. Right now, the unemployment rate for all veterans is about 6.9 to 7%, which is considerably less than the national unemployment rate. But and what we see here at Vet Jobs, we see over 20,000 people a day come to our site. We see that for the most part, those who get off active duty and totally separate from the military, they're getting jobs. Now, that is not to say that there aren't some people out there having a tough time. The press likes to get a hold of people that are having a hard time finding a job and write up a story. And of course, they always like to blame the fact that they were in the military or, they didn't work before they went out and all this type of stuff. But overall, the veterans who totally separate are getting a job. Where we see the biggest problem is in those people that are in the National Guard and the Reserve. Right now, nationally, the unemployment rate for the Army National Guard is 28%. I'm going to have to stop here for just a second. Okay, I'm back. The unemployment rate for the people in the Army National Guard right now is about 28%. That's 4 times the national unemployment rate for veterans. In fact, do understand that the National Guard and Reserve now represent 52% of our fighting force. Were it not for the high unemployment rate in the National Guard and Reserve, the unemployment rate for all veterans nationally would be down around 4%. This problem is only going to get worse, and I've been doing a lot of testifying about that up in the Congress. We're going to be working on that again on the 30th of this month. But what we want to talk about today is who is looking at veterans and why. Now, if you're a person that's looking for a job, if you don't know what you want to do, you know, there's an old joke about if you don't know where you're going, any road you take will get you there. We're strong advocates here at Vet Jobs of career assessment training. We use the CRI test on our site. It's under, we call it the Career Advisor. It's underneath the Veterans drop-down. But there are several very good assessment tests out there. The Skill Survey, Career Path is one that's put on by Career Builder. There's assessment.com. There's Myers-Briggs, which are Myers-Briggs test is rather expensive, but it helps if you're working with a candidate or you are the candidate to know what it is you want to do and why you want to do it. And one of the best things that can help you is taking a career assessment test. We use the CRI test, which is on our site, and normally it's $250 to take that test. We got CRI to donate the test to the veterans, their spouses, and their children. Vet Jobs is not just for veterans or transitioning. We're for anybody that's ever been in the military family. Let's talk just a moment about how people find jobs. Now, there's all sorts of surveys out there and all sorts of data that floats around, and there's a lot of people that try to push agendas, but using numbers from Weddles and SHRM, and SHRM is a Society of Human Resource Management, as a general rule, the two leading ways to find a job are through networking and use of internet job boards, particularly the niche job boards. I run into a lot of candidates who say, well, I put my resume out on Monster or Career Builder or whoever, and they're upset because nobody's called them. And I said, well, that's a very passive approach. You've got to become assertive. And just putting your resume out there doesn't mean that they're going to find you and respond to you. Career fairs, which is very popular, only account for about 3% of all jobs filled. One of the dirty little secrets is that most companies attend career fairs in order to comply with the Department of Labor's local outreach requirement. If DOL ever does away with the local outreach requirement, career fairs are going to dry up in a heartbeat. About 3% is through all the other sources. This is the back of the newspaper, magazines, family, etc. The internet job boards have replaced the classifieds that used to be in the newspapers. I'm down here in Atlanta, north side of Atlanta in Roswell, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution on Sunday used to be nearly a 600-page newspaper, of which 550 pages were jobs in the back of the newspaper. This past Sunday, there was almost a full page of jobs. All those jobs have gone to the internet. So when you're working with someone and they're having trouble, make sure that they are networking and make sure that they are using the internet job boards. Let's look at the popular occupations that veterans look at when they get out of the military. This page here gives you an idea of what some of the more popular ones are. Law enforcement is always strong with people that came out of the military, but there's some issues there that a lot of people don't realize when they're getting out. Most sheriff's departments and police departments want you to take a test, and then you get put on a list. Same thing for EMTs, the same thing for EMTs or emergency management technicians, and the same thing for people in fire departments. So they need to know where they want to move to, going back to the career assessment testing, and understand that it could take as long as 6 to 9 months before their name comes up off the list and they can get a job. So if you're working with someone that wants to go into law enforcement, make sure they understand it could take 6 to 9 months. Now, if they're transitioning off active duty, I encourage them a year before they get off active duty, if they know they want to go live in Montgomery, Alabama, or they want to be in Cleveland, Ohio, to go ahead and apply to the police department or fire department, before they get out, because there will be some time. Right now, one of the really hot spots for veterans is manufacturing, and another one is logistics, transportation, and warehousing, because the economy is starting to come back. Another one is petroleum, oil, and pipeline, and in that you would also include mining. To give you an idea of what you can do if you were to go into the petroleum industry, if you are a certified welder right now, if you were willing to move to Texas, Oklahoma, the Dakotas, and Montana, you could make $55 an hour as a welder. And $55 an hour is $107,000 before overtime. And they're letting them work as much overtime as they want. Vet Jobs moved a lot of people up into Alberta, Canada, because when our Keystone Pipeline was put on hold down here, we had a lot of people who wanted to get in the oil industry. They went up to Alberta, Canada, making incredible amounts of money, $150,000 to $300,000. You don't have to have a degree in order to be able to make a lot of good money. And one of the nice things is the tradescrafts people that come out, as a general rule, do very, very well. Now, there's a huge demand for welders, electricians, and plumbers nationwide. Where that demand comes from, keep in mind we got 11 million people that are unemployed. Where the demand comes from is that in the last 20 years, we are down to only 2% of all the high schools in America teach shop. Now, I'm an old fart. When I went through high school back in the 50s, I took 3 shops because it was 3 easy A's. I took construction, I took printing, and I took electricity. Today, so few people are taking shop courses that there is a huge demand for maintenance technicians, for electricians. Here in Atlanta, we got several plumbing companies. If you refer a person who's skilled at plumbing into them, they start at between $55,000 and $70,000 a year, and they'll pay you a $3,000 referral fee. I have a lot of friends that own third-party recruiting firms now who used to place people in management and IT. Now they're making more money placing people in tradescrafts jobs. So when you're working with someone or someone who's getting out, don't think just in terms of, well, gee, I got to go to college to get a degree to make money. You can make a lot of money without a degree in these other fields. Let's move on to industries with the most job ads. I always find this interesting. Several organizations out there list the industries with the most job ads, on the internet. And as you go down through this list, you'll find that there's a lot in engineering and there's a lot that's healthcare related. Healthcare is one of the hottest fields out there right now, but you don't have to be a doctor or a dentist or a nurse in order to work in healthcare. A lot of people coming out of the military know how to comply with forms and requirements. And a big issue down here where we talk about healthcare services, a big issue for a lot of hospitals is finding people that know how to comply with all the forms and reporting they have to do. Healthcare is also a good spot to laterally transfer a skill you have. And I'll give you an example. We had a veteran that called in from Illinois. He'd been the logistics manager for a manufacturing plant. The plant closed down, and he said there were no other manufacturing plants close to him, and he was having trouble trying to find a job in logistics. So I suggested to him, are there any hospitals in your area? He said, yeah, there's 4 or 5 of them real close by. I told him, go in and talk to the HR people, because they have these large storerooms, or some people call it their supply room, and a lot of the people in healthcare are not real good at keeping track of all the needles and gauzes and everything else that they control in a hospital. he said he never had thought about that. He went and visited 4 hospitals, and 3 of them made him a job offer. And the thing that's funny is he'd been driving past those hospitals every day when he was out looking for a job. So sometimes it helps if you get out of the box a little bit and look at things differently and think not so much, gee, I got to work in a warehouse, but I have a skill. Who else can make use of this skill? It turned out hospitals can make use of his skill. So thinking outside the box a little bit and taking what you have to a industry that you're not familiar with sometimes will help a lot. Let's go down here and talk about where you want to go to work at. There's a lot of lists out there. The 10 fastest growing list, this just came out from Forbes, and they say that these are the 10 fastest growing cities in the country right now. If they're growing fast, that means there's a demand for employees. Note that 4 of them are in Texas. Texas has created more jobs in the last 3 years than the rest of the country combined. Now, if you also notice, and I'm sure there's people on here that are think in terms of unions and what have you, but the fastest job growth that's going on right now is in the right-to-work states, not in the union shop states. And stop and think about that for a minute. If you'd been in the military for 20 years as an electrician, are you going to step out and go to a state like Ohio or Michigan where the IBEW wants you to start as a journeyman apprentice at $9.50 an hour, but you've been an electrician for 20 years in the Army? Are you going to go to a state like Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, or California, which is a right-to-work state, where you can start at $70,000 to $80,000 an hour? That's not rocket science, but it helps to understand where the fastest growth is taking place, and that opens up a lot of potential jobs. One that's really nice, particularly if you're looking to make a move, is Phoenix. While they're growing fast right now, their housing market is still very, the price of homes out there are very, very reasonable. I just had a friend that moved from Green Bay, Wisconsin, down to Phoenix. They bought a house in Phoenix for just the profit they made off of their house in Green Bay. They bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $48,000. I couldn't believe it, but but the job growth and demand is down there. So when you're looking at what are you going to do in determining what you need to do, not only think about what the job is you want to do, but think in terms of where in the country is there going to be a demand for your skill. I had a Navy chief that had been a weapons handler in the Navy, and he called me up one day complaining that he couldn't find a job. I said, where do you live? And he said, in Hillsdale down in Florida. And I said, well, you know, I hate to tell you this, Chief, there are no weapons handling jobs down there. You got to go to, up in Wilmington, North Carolina, or some other areas to have a weapons handling job. And he says, well, I don't want to live up there. I got a place down here and I want to be a weapons handler. Well, he set himself up to fail. You got to understand where the jobs are at, but also be reasonable in terms of, do the skills I have fit for the area where I'm going to live? I told him, the best spot he should have moved to San Diego, but he didn't want to move to California. So be reasonable when you're looking at jobs and then trying to decide where it is you want to live. Is the type of job you're looking for going to be there? Okay, let's talk a little bit about let me go back up here. I goofed up. Okay. Here we are. Okay, where are you going to find military-friendly employers? One of the ways to find people that do want to hire military is to go to some of the recognized military employer-friendly lists. There's one called militaryfriendly.com. GI Jobs puts out what they call the top 100 military employers. They're generally the ones who've been advertising with them a lot, but still they're good companies that like to hire. The Department of Defense every year puts out what's called the Freedom Award. If you go to freedomaward.mil, you can look at all the prior companies, and these are great companies that like to hire people that are in the National Guard and Reserve. But you can go out and find employers that way. Another way to find military-friendly employers is to go visit the military-related job boards. This is a list of the better-known military-related job boards, and it gives you an idea. If you go in there and start searching jobs, you'll see people that want to hire veterans. Now, the Helmets to Hard Hats site is primarily for putting people into unions, and so that's a lot of tradescrafts jobs. The Vet Success and the Heroes to Hired are two government sites. H2H is run by the Department of Defense now. It was originally for the Wounded Warriors. They ran out of money. They gave it to the Army Reserve, and the Army Reserve said they couldn't afford it anymore. Now the Department of Defense Employer Supportive Guard and Reserve has taken it over, and it's a good spot to go look and find jobs, as is Vet Success. But one other thing to look at, some of these sites, when you get into them, you'll find that they specialize in a given area. You know, like some are more for junior military officers, some are more for people that are just coming off active duty. The only way that you can learn is to get out and visit the different sites. You can't just sit back or just throw your resume out there and wait for the employers to come to you. I can't stress enough that if you're looking for a job, you've got to be assertive in trying to find your job. Now, here are some of the better-known veteran employers. You always have your big box stores like Home Depot, Walmart, and Sears, but don't just look at the brand name companies. The fastest growth out there are in terms of finding really good jobs are generally in companies in 300 to 500 employees. And that is also where you'll get a job that gives you the most responsibility and opportunity to move upwards. But we're really glad to see that General Motors is back out there hiring. All the railroads are hiring very strong. Right now, BNSF Railway, Union Pacific, CSX, Seaboard Coastline, they're all hiring very strong, and they love to get military. If you're looking for a truck driving job, one of the best in the country is Schneider National. For years, they have had a real strong military hiring program, and they love to get people that have their truck driving license to have them come on board. But there's plenty of people out there that want to hire veterans. One thing to keep in mind, though, and I run into this attitude a lot with some people, where they feel that, well, they owe me a job because I was in the military. If you're working with someone that has that type of an attitude, you got to beat it out of them and let them understand nobody owes them anything. It's nice that they were in the military, and that means that they have skills, and that means they have leadership, but nobody owes you a job just because you're in the military, any more than they owe you a job because you graduated from a college. You've got to demonstrate that you have the skill sets that that company needs. Moving on here, for those who are disabled, this is a listing of the better known disabled employment sites. If you want to work for the U.S. government, opm.gov/disability, another one is usajobs.com, lists a lot of the government sites, and the government looks, they have huge requirements for hiring disabled employees. The Disability Job Board and these others list private industry companies that want to hire people, and a lot of them are doing it because they want to comply with DOL requirements. A lot of the companies hire disabled because it's the right thing to do. I'm a Vietnam era veteran, and I can remember back in the 70s and early 80s, if you've been disabled in Vietnam, they wouldn't even talk to you. Today, employers seem to really go out of their way to hire disabled people, and that's a great thing, in our society today. Federal resources. Don't just look at the civilian resources. A lot of the federal resources are very, very helpful. A lot of the LVOPs, local veteran employment rep, and the disabled veteran opportunity program representative at the local DOL offices help anybody who's ever been in the military. You don't have to be transitioning off or haven't gotten out in the last year. If you go to your local DOL office, some places call them a workforce center. It goes by different names in different areas. But this, the University of Colorado, Denver lists where all the vet reps are in all the different DOL offices. And you go there, you can get the phone number and the name of your local veterans representative and go over and see them. They have a lot of local jobs that can help you out. Same thing with the Department of Labor. Another good spot is employer support of the Guard and Reserve. ESGR used to be primarily helping employers, with USERRA issues, or getting employers to hire members of the Guard and Reserve. They have now transitioned under General Young. Ron Young is doing a great job running ESGR. They've transitioned to where they are acting as semi-mentoring and acting as a referral service for people in local areas. If you go to esgr.mil, you can get the contact information for your local ESGR committee in your state, and frequently they will have a job that will help you out. But make use of the federal resources. Your tax dollars have been paying for them. It's nice to get something back from it. Another area which is now starting to open up again is your state and municipal employers. Here in Georgia, like where we're located in Cobb County, for about 2 years, Cobb County basically did not do any hiring other than to replace somebody that retired. Now that the economy is starting to turn a little bit, a lot of the municipal and state areas are starting to grow, but you will find that most of those that are doing the hiring are going to be in your right-to-work states or in what they call the Sun Belt area, where growth is taking place. Now, how do you find a job in them? Go onto the internet, use Google or use any one of the search engines and type in, like, I want to, employment, Denver, Colorado. Job, Denver, Colorado. Job, San Bernardino, California. And you'll see those come back, or ask for, you do a search and get the websites for a county or for a city, and then go through their employment site. Now keep in mind, with a lot of the county and municipal jobs, frequently they have tests that you have to take and then you get on a list. Others are exempted jobs where you can be brought right in. And this is what drives everybody crazy, no two counties or municipalities do it the same way. And yes, I hear from people all the time, how come the state of Illinois doesn't do it like they do in Ohio? And I tell them, because it's the state of Illinois, it's not Ohio. So you just have to ferret your way through what they want you to do in order to be able to apply for a job. But this gives you, what we've covered here, it gives you some ideas and these lists or resources that you can use to find people that are very strong in hiring disabled people as well as veterans. The good thing is, with the veteran unemployment rate being as low as it is, it demonstrates that civilian employers actually want to hire and have been hiring veterans over non-veterans, is because of what you bring as a veteran. Now, being president of a vet job, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't just mention a little bit about who we are. We get between 20 and 22,000 people a day coming through our site. We're partly owned by the Veteran of Foreign Wars. Right here in the employment assistance section is where we recommend everybody start. We got a lot of good articles in there. We list all the career sites for states as well as by occupation in this job board list. Here under the veteran drop down, you can take the career advisor. We list all the upcoming military related career fairs. We're partly owned by the VFW, so we provide a lot of data. We've been endorsed by Vietnam Veterans of America and a whole bunch of other veteran service organizations, so we provide data to help people out. We've been around for 14 years. We've been running between 50 and 65,000 jobs a day. We get over 700,000 visitors a month. And we've won a lot of awards, which is nice because what it tells me is that our staff here is doing a great job. So at this point, I'd like to open it up for questions. I've been talking to you now for about 30 minutes. Doug, does anybody have any questions?
Yes. Could you turn your speakers down a little, Ted?
Okay.
All right.
I got mine down.
We had one question about if we're going to this presentation out to everybody. We will send you the PowerPoint after the webinar is over, and then we'll archive this on our website at a later date. So just wanted to mention that. But as for one question we had, Ted, how is sequestration going to affect job growth, and what field is least prone to be affected?
Sequestration is definitely affecting a lot of areas. As a result, let me turn the question around. Some areas maybe not to go looking for jobs are some government contractors that are being stripped rather heavily. Municipalities in heavy military areas such as San Diego or San Antonio, outside of Wright Pad up in Ohio, because of sequestration, and I don't want to get into the politics of sequestration, but the military has kind of become the, and Department of Defense is becoming sort of the batting boy on this thing. So be aware that some jobs that used to be very easy to get around military bases, thanks to sequestration, aren't going to be there. I wouldn't go looking for a job in the FAA right now because of what's happening with all the control towers. And a lot of that is politics. I don't want to get into that, but right now it looks like close to 200,000 people are going to be laid off in the next couple of months because of sequestration. So the best spot to be looking for jobs where sequestration isn't going to affect you so much are in the oil and gas industry, healthcare. One industry a lot of people don't think about, but right now in the United States, it is an industry that has the highest demand and the fewest qualified people are morticians. You know, with the baby boomers dying off like they are, the demand for morticians has gone up drastically. Every state wants to certify their own morticians, so it'll take you about 6 months to go through their individual state schooling. But most morticians, after they come out of school, start at between $80,000 and $90,000. No degree required. And that's not going to be affected by sequestration at all. Same thing with a lot of the healthcare jobs. They're not going to be affected. Your public safety jobs are not going to be affected that much by sequestration.
Right. And kind of going off of that one, how will troop drawdown affect the looking for work?
Yeah, interesting. And sorry I'm constantly rubbing my nose right now, but I'm trying not to sneeze. I can't tell you how excited I am that God gave me all these allergies. Throw that question at me again.
How is troop drawdown
right
going to affect trends now?
Where the troop drawdown is going to affect people more is that it's going to hurt people in the Guard and Reserve. The National Guard and Reserve are now 52% of our fighting force. The administration reduced the active duty by 140,000, meaning that our active duty forces are now about 900,000. We haven't had a situation where the NGNR was bigger than the active duty, going almost back to World War I. And what it means is that because you got 140,000 people that have been coming out the last couple of months, if I'm an employer I'm looking at someone who's totally separated from the military, and they have all these skills, and I've got this person in the National Guard who has the same identical skills, same experience, but as an employer, I know that they could be called up and taken away for 12 to 24 months. Who am I going to hire? It's going to be the person that's totally separated from the military, which is why we tell people in the Guard and Reserve now, something that I thought we would never tell them: don't list your Guard and Reserve participation on your resume. Or if they ask, well, you know, I did my tour, I'm out, or I'm not subject to recall or whatever. But there's different ways to handle that. You can read some of the articles we have in our employment assistance section. But where it's going to create competition is going to be for those that are not totally separated but are still in the National Guard. What we are seeing is that for those that have been transitioning off with this drawdown, so long as they don't have behavioral or attitude problems, they're getting picked up pretty fast because of what's going on in the civilian world. Next question.
All right. Here. Digging through these here. You mentioned the 300 to 500 employee. They're the ones that hire the most. What are some good examples like that?
It varies. You know, Activa and a bunch of others who started small and been growing rapidly. Humana's another example of a company that just exploded. One of the best ways to find a lot of those companies are the startup companies. In most cities where you got a university, they'll have what they call a incubator tied to the business school. These are new startup companies. And a lot of people will go, like here in metropolitan Atlanta, we have the Georgia Tech Research Institute, and at Kennesaw State University, they have a small business incubator. And if you have skills, particularly computer skills, and you go talk to them, frequently you can get yourself hired because they're a startup company. They're looking for people that want to work, that aren't clock watchers, etc. If you use every major metropolitan area has a business chronicle. Some of them call them a business journal. And they'll put out lists of the top 500 or top 1,000 companies in that area, and they list the company's size. And when you're looking at companies below 500 or below 300 is what you call your mid-cap companies or mid-sized companies, as opposed to Fortune 1000 where you have 30, 40, 50,000 employees. You'll be able to see ones that might be in an industry that you like, and it'd be an easy way to find them. But using your business chronicles, business journals, go to your local library and go to the Thomas Register and look at those companies that are in your municipality, and you'll see their sizes, and take a look and say, gee, working for Northside Hospital might be where I want to go, and go down and apply. One thing I do want to mention, for those of you that want to go into healthcare, a lot of hospitals do not put their jobs out on the internet or even in local newspapers. What they want people to do is to come to the hospital and apply. And I won't go into all the reasons for that, but frequently with hospitals, if you go to a hospital and go to the Human Resources Department, apply directly, you'll have a lot more success than just trying to apply online to hospitals. And again, this comes back to bringing up the fact again that the onus on finding a job is going to be on the candidate. The candidate has got to get out there and take the initiative to go find where the people are that are hiring.
Okay, great. Unless anybody else has any other questions, I think that was it.
Okay, I apologize again for what I sound like right now, but this pollen is definitely whacking me today.
I understand. Not a big
Okay, if anybody has any questions or they want to give me a call, you're more than welcome to reach me at info@betjobs.com, or our phone number is 877-BETJOBS. That's 877-838-5627. I appreciate you attending, and hopefully you've picked up some information that'll be able to help you and or the people that you're working with.
Great. And on behalf of Disabled Veterans National Foundation, I just want to thank everybody for attending. Again, we will have this information later on our site. And feel free to email me at dwalker@dvnf.org. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and thank you, Mr. Daywalt, for presenting today.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you.